My name is Tim, and this is the year that would change my life forever. Happy New Year! Happy New Year! I just didn't know it yet.
Tim, my dear son, this is going to sound strange, but there's this family secret that the men in the family can travel in time.
This is such a weird joke.
It's not a joke.
If it's true, which it isn't.
Although it is.
But if it was, which it's not.
Which it is.
How would I actually...
You go into a dark place, clench your fists, think of the moment you're going to, and you'll find yourself there.
Happy New Year! It's going to be a complicated year.
It's going to be a complicated life.
For me, it was always going to be all about love. I'm Tim.
I'm Mary.
It's my mother's name.
I remind you of your mother?
Obviously, I should have thought this through more. Could you give me 1 second? I'm Tim.
I'm Mary.
I love your eyes.
Do you?
I love the rest of your face, too. I haven't even looked further down, but I'm sure it's all fantastic. I'm sure it'll be better next time.
Well done. Some people make a real mess of it the first time.
Amateurs. Some days you want to relive forever. Will you marry me?
I think I'll go for yes.
Some days you only want to live once.
I am so uninterested in a life without your father.
It never occurred to me that I might lose you.
I never said you could fix everything. Not without consequences.
It's so good to see you.
We've never met before.
Oh no. What do I do?
You have to use it to make your life the way you want it to be.
I never know what the future holds, just like everyone else.
Time catches up to all of us, my son.
My dad. I try to live every day as if it was the final day of my extraordinary, ordinary life.
I hope I see you again.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Movie Hero Network and the new and improved Wheel of Movies. This is episode number 18 of Wheel of Movies, where we do a little deep dive on some of the favorite movies of the people here in our community. I am your host tonight, Austin Pez Howell, alongside my co-host here on the new revamped Wheel of Movies, Mr. Richie Goodacre. How's it going, sir?
Yeah, it's going good, man. It's been a little while, just haven't been on this channel for a little bit, but I'm glad to be back. And yeah, it's good to revisit this movie. I haven't seen it really since maybe had its theater run. So I forgot how good this movie is. So it was really entertaining. So yeah, good to talk about it.
And there you go. And we also have a special guest tonight. We got Malcolm Lay, who I believe had this movie on his 128. Am I right about that? So yeah. So how you doing, Malcolm? How's it going?
It's doing good. And yeah, it's good to revisit the movie. Like it's funny. I was thinking about revisiting it a few weeks ago when I saw it on Netflix. But then I was like, oh no, I'll wait. Then it left Netflix, so I had to rent it for this week. So, but it's worth it though. It's a good movie.
Why is that always that? I went to go watch 16 Candles for me and Jacob's podcast we're going to do, and it was on Netflix. And then literally I went to go watch it 2 nights ago, and it jumped from Netflix to Prime, which I have Prime, but still, like, that was annoying. I'm just like, how they just jump all over the place.
Is spying on us.
Well, I went to rent this movie from like the library, and I'm still on my holds list, right? Because it wasn't on Netflix, and then I go to Netflix, and they just added it to Netflix as I want. I'm like, I guess I'm going to have to cancel that hold, or I'll just rent it out again and watch it again, I guess.
We all had weird situations because I ended up buying the Blu-ray. Blu-ray arrived last night, and then I forgot that I had already bought it on my Vudu, like, years ago. And so I forgot to check my own personal Vudu that has 1,300 movies on it. I realized I didn't really need to do that. So we all had weird things trying to rewatch this movie. But yeah, I rewatched it as well. actually today, a few hours ago before we started this. But yeah, just a couple of quick things. We are talking about 2013's About Time, which ended up on the wheel, due in part at least to Malcolm. It might be on some other people's list. I couldn't remember if he had to just exclude it off the wheel just once or if it was on there multiple times. But just a few quick things. Yeah, 2013, November 1st, 2013, to be exact. Budget of $12 million, box office of $88 million, so it did quite well. $23 million of that coming from South Korea. This movie was a monster hit in South Korea for some reason. I don't know why, but people just went gaga for this movie over there. But yeah, directed by Richard Curtis, who previously directed Love Actually, probably his most kind of famous movie that people go back and watch a lot, and also Pirate Radio, which I know has a different title. The Boat That Rocked, yeah. So which I have seen. It's another one I saw in theaters. Have not revisited it since I saw it then. Remember it being okay. But yeah, he's mainly known as a writer. He's written a whole bunch of other stuff. But yeah, Richard Curtis's About Time. Yeah, and yeah, it's an interesting one. We'll kind of go around and get sort of our histories with this movie. Why don't we start with you, Malcolm? If you remember the first time you saw it, maybe what connected with you and why it's in your 128.
Yeah, I think I just saw it for the first time like maybe in maybe 2018 or 2019 because I remember a bunch of trivia people raving about the movie. It's like, I'll finally get around to actually watching it. I don't know why I missed it sort of when it first came out. Maybe it was just I saw it out there, just didn't know what it was, and it just didn't interest me at the time. But it's one of those ones like as soon as I watched it, it's like I love it. I love Richard Curtis, and it's one of those ones like because I don't really think there's a movie of his I don't love, and so it's just one of those ones like so it was just a really fascinating story as well. So yeah.
Yeah, no, Brian pointed out, and I did in my research. Yeah, Richard Curtis was actually a frequent Rowan Atkinson collaborator. He helped kind of create the Mr. Bean Show and Blackadder, I believe, both. So that's why Rowan Atkinson, makes a little cameo in Love Actually and kind of pops up in some of the things. So, yeah. But what about you, Richie? Do you remember the first time you saw this? And
in the theater, it was probably at the time where wouldn't say I don't like sort of rom-coms, but I just sort of it's one of those ones where like I'll watch it if there's like like not much else like competing against it, I guess. But yeah, but I must I do love Richard Curtis, so that's kind of what sold it for me because he also believe he wrote Notting Hill. And Notting Hill is one of my favorite rom-coms. I love that movie, and yeah, this is up there. I watched it in not long after in the theater, and then I didn't think. I mean, I liked it. I remember liking it, but then like people, like Malcolm said, like people in this community like rave about it. Like there's a lot of like divisiveness on a lot of movies in general. That's just the nature of movie discussions. But it seems like everyone can like band together on this one movie, and I'm like, okay, I really need to rewatch this again. Apparently, but I only just got around to it just for this. I'm like, oh, this was good. It came up, and yeah, I get it. This movie's really funny and really, really charming, and I like the cast in it. So yeah, huge fan of like Bill Nighy, and it's probably the first time I went back when I watched seeing Jamal Gleason. So, probably very young Margot Robbie. So, yeah.
No, we'll talk about the cast, but yeah, there's a couple people who I forgotten are in this movie, namely Margot Robbie and Vanessa Kirby, who have both obviously gone on to have very good careers for themselves out of this movie. But we'll talk about it. Yeah, I think I missed this in theaters. I don't remember seeing this in there. I think me and my girlfriend at the time rented it from like a Red Box and watched it, and I remember liking it, but I hadn't seen it since then. So it was nice to kind of put it back in my brain a little bit. I enjoyed my rewatch. I thought it was pretty good. I have my nitpicks about the actual time travel stuff in the movie, but that's like a whole other thing. To where I think they kind of break a lot of their own little rules, like especially in the third act, as far as what's going on. It's a little muddy, as far as what they can and can't do and like what happens afterwards. But we'll talk about it.
I realized too that Rachel McAdams likes to be in rom-com time travel movies. She's in this. she's in like Time Traveler's Wife, which I guess is more of a drama, but and she's in Midnight in Paris, which is also a time travel element.
That's a trivia bit in all those movies that she's in, where she's a time travel love interest. Because they're all like every single one of those movies you mentioned in the trivia. It'll be like Richard McAdams likes to, apparently loves to be the love interest of a time traveler because Time Traveler's Wife and About Time, Midnight in Paris, and Doctor Strange technically as well.
Oh yeah,
who has a time stone and can do stuff with time. So 4 movies where she's with a time traveler. So interesting. I don't know what that anomaly is, but I don't know, maybe that's the scripts they sent her. But just a couple of trivia bits and we'll kind of get into it. Not a whole lot of trivia for this. It's like not like Guardians of the Galaxy or something where there's a big blockbuster, a lot going on. This is a fairly kind of low budget, just very simple movie. Really the only kind of main thing that came out is for a long time Zooey Deschanel was cast. And then she was unavailable due to some kind of scheduling issue. So this movie could have starred Zooey Deschanel, who was in a lot of stuff around this time as well. The thing you talked about with Rachel McAdams being the time travel love interest was definitely a thing. And that South Korea thing was kind of a interesting little tidbit where they went nuts for this movie. I'm not really sure why. Not
Korean remake or something like that.
I don't know. Maybe there's like a TV show based on this or something over there. Not a whole lot else to get into. Everybody else they cast and put together was pretty much their first choices there. Donald Gleason, kind of an up and comer at this time. I mean, maybe Malcolm, because I'm not a big Harry Potter guy, Malcolm, but how big is his role in the Harry Potter movies? Is he just kind of a side guy?
He put it like it's just a pretty small role in the last 2 movies.
He's from the Weasel, right?
Yeah, he's Paul Weasley.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's the older brother, I guess.
Second older. Yeah, because I think Charlie's the oldest. And yes.
Okay. So but I mean, at least those 2 were before this movie, so he at least had some things going for him. And I think he kind of blew up really after this movie because you had he had a really good 2015 actually, if you look at his filmography, because in 2015 he had Ex Machina, Brooklyn, Star Wars: The Force Awakens, and The Revenant. 4 in 1 year. It's a pretty good year and a wider range of movies. So because I remember that year just being like, oh my god, this Donald Gleason's in everything coming out, and he sure was. He had a really good 2017 as well. He had American Made, Mother, Crash Pad, Goodbye Christopher Robin, and The Last Jedi. So he had a whole bunch of movies as well. So when he works, he works. So he's a busy boy. We saw Rachel McAdams, who was still kind of really breaking out. Obviously, she had Mean Girls, about 10 years before, and had been working steady since then. Bill Nighy, who had a good couple of years because he was in, the Pirates movies, breaking out of that, and obviously had been working for a very long time. But we talked about the young that I'd forgotten about, Margot Robbie and Vanessa Kirby, who obviously the same year, Margot Robbie's in The Wolf of Wall Street and gets a lot of accolades for that movie. So a good breakout year for her. And took Vanessa Kirby, I think, a little longer, but she's really starting to break out now, with the Mission Impossible stuff and Napoleon and whatnot. And she's popping up in a lot of things. So
I think Vanessa Kirby's breakout is probably in that. Was it Pieces of a Woman? Is it Pieces of a Woman that she kind of like Oscar?
Yeah. Okay.
It's interesting, and it's interesting. Probably the next thing, notable thing, Donald Gleason's going to be in. He's in that new Office spin-off thing they're doing.
Oh, that's right. Did he make a couple of appearances on the original one? Am I wrong?
I don't know. He might have
on the American one, like a guest spot. Am I wrong about that?
It makes sense because it's like it's in the same universe. So
I don't think
not.
they did any appearances in the original Office.
Okay. I just thought for some reason he popped up in that, but I could be wrong. Let's get into the movie a little bit. So we got this kind of basic premise. of Domhnall Gleeson plays Tim, and he's got a tight knit kind of family, and he's kind of not like a loser, but he's not very good with the ladies, but he's very close to his family, and he kind of sets off to London to have an adventure, mainly to try to see if he can pick up girls on his own. Kind of fails miserably for about 6 months. Nothing seems to happen. The guy he lives with is kind of a miserable, cranky dude.
Tom Hollander. I love this.
Tom Hollander. That's right. Yeah, he's pretty great. His little kind of deadpan deliveries and whatnot. It's pretty good. And doesn't he like introduce him to? Place he's staying is like his sister's room or something like that. When he first puts him up in the flat,
he goes, "Yeah, you can have sex. You can have sex with her. Everyone else has."
Yeah, but yeah, again, Tim's not like a loser. He's a lawyer, and he's a decent lawyer. He's his neighbor or his roommate is a playwright, going to his plays, and I think one of the first instances. Well, I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but kind of the big first act thing is Bill Nighy sits him down now that he's a grown man, and just drops some knowledge on him that all the men in our family can time travel. Okay, how and why we don't know. They just can. So it's
also very random to mention it just then. I was like, okay, like were you trying to tell me the whole like I'm in my late 20s, 30s. Like, were you going to tell me earlier? Like,
you could have told me when I turned 18 or something like that when I became an adult.
Yeah. I would have had so many more probably put more girlfriends because I would have worked out anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I would say that this relationship between Domhnall Gleeson and Bill Nighy is kind of the heart of the movie, and I think it kind of ends up being what it's sort of really about at its core. But Malcolm, what do you think about Bill Nighy and their relationship in this movie? Yeah, and it be kind of the heart of this whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones like, it's definitely like it's definitely just a really sweet relationship, like, and it's just one of those ones like it kind of works perfectly as well. Like you'd think that they were father and son in real life, like just with the way it's this relationship trade on screen, because it just seems like a natural relationship, and it's one of those ones I think when it comes to the timing of telling him about the time travel thing is a case of like he chose the moment where he thinks like he'll be responsible with it and not like go great, like I mean it's
like be a dumb kid or something.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I mean, and they have a little quick discussion about using it for money purposes, which I feel like Bill Nighy has. They got a really nice house on the beach that can't be cheap. So I feel like he might be at least downplaying that maybe he at least set them up for a nice retirement at bare minimum. Maybe making a few, as they say, Back to the Future, making a few bets on the side that don't really affect anything. You know what I mean? So I mean, because you could really use that power to go back a day before and either win some kind of lottery or make some money on a sports game or something. I feel like you could, but who knows? They don't really expand on that. He just kind of lays out a few ground rules and then expands on a few later, which the kid thing, by the way, we'll get into it, but that could have been good information. That could have been good information earlier. I feel like, at least not telling them like after you've already had the kid. That's a little strange. But yeah, we see him kind of playing around with the powers when Margot Robbie moves in with him for the summer, and he's trying to kind of finagle a few things. So he screws up, a few little things and goes back and tries to be a little more suave. And then turns out she's not interested, so it doesn't matter. And, he tries to do a few things, and she just basically blows him off and says, ask me again later. And, and nothing comes of it. But yeah, I mean, Margot Robbie, I had completely forgotten she's in this movie. And, again, she had a good year with this in Wall Street. And I don't know, what do you guys think of her kind of popping up in and out throughout the movie? 'Cause she pops up again later in a scene where they kind of reunite a little bit.
Yeah, I'll get to the reuniting scene because I think that she says something that like when they meet that I think is, I don't know if it was meant to be funny, but I found it funny. I think this is her first like foray into like American film. She might have done American TV or something, but like I feel like this is the first sort of Hollywood film, but beyond like obviously Australian TV and film and stuff. So yeah, no, it's cool. Yeah, like if I didn't know Margot Robbie was in it going in, like it would have been like at first you don't recognize and you're like, oh yeah, this looks like Margot Robbie, but yeah, at first it's like it's hard to recognize her, but yeah. But yeah, no, I thought she was, it's a small role, but I thought she played it. Played it pretty.
Richie, I was looking up, but like every other Australian actor or actress, she was on Neighbours.
She's on Neighbours, yeah.
Like everybody else who ever acts, I guess.
I mean, Neighbours or Home and Away, one of
the Neighbours and Home and Away is the Shortland Street of Australia. Just you gotta, or like Days of Our Lives, or shit like that. Where that's your entry into bigger things, sort of. Yeah.
We played that game when Malcolm originally did that New Zealand actor thing of whether they had been on like Shortland Street or just those like soap operas and whatnot in New Zealand, and pretty much I think it was like 75% of them did at some point. At least on some episodes. Almost a guarantee. But yeah, I mean, there's one other kind of actress in the cast that I grew to like. It's the girl who plays Kit Kat, the sister. She's fun. They have a good little relationship. That's Lydia Wilson, who I didn't really recognize from anything in particular, but she's pretty much, I think, just kind of either a British actress or something like that. Yeah, so I haven't seen her in a lot. But I like her character. She's fun. They have a nice little kind of brother-sister dynamic. And she kind of becomes the, you keep waiting for this movie to take that turn where like somebody dies or there's some horrific thing that happens with like one of his kids. And it's mostly just a minor car accident. And kind of a weird boyfriend. I kept waiting for something, horrific to happen. But really, even with her, it's like she doesn't die. She just
it's like the whole like message is like, hey, sometimes things in the past you can't change. There's a reason. Like sometimes it's like things play out, and you just got to deal with it. But it's like, I don't know. It wouldn't be more impactful if it wasn't minor. Just like It's like,
No, the actress that played Kit Kat, she was Jessica Wolf in Star Trek Beyond, or also known as Kalara.
Okay.
I don't know if that's no.
Yeah, that's not the Sophia de Bratella part. Obviously, it must have been somebody else. I haven't seen Star Trek Beyond since I first saw it in the theater, so I couldn't really tell you who that was. That wasn't one I went back to. But yeah, I mean, there, so he gets kind of his heart broken there. But then they have this scene where they go to this restaurant where everything is done in the dark, blind. And apparently, I did some research. It's a real thing. Yeah, it's a real thing called the Dan's Lenore. It's a real restaurant in London where you can go and have like an in the dark restaurant experience. I don't know how that's not a complete disaster when you're setting plates and stuff in front of everybody, or everybody isn't knocking over water constantly. But I guess that's a thing.
There was a reality show called Dating in the Dark.
I do remember that. Yes,
it was basically that, and then it was like, I guess the idea is like, hey, you have to judge people on their personality, not their looks. But at the end of the day, they still see what they look like, and you're still going to judge based on that.
Because it's like, it's still a thing where once you see them, can't you basically swipe left on them and just get rid of them? And it's like, oh well, after all that, I still don't, I'm not really attracted to you, so bye. But no, we get this whole sequence where it's basically just a bunch of dialogue, kind of in the dark. We hear Rachel McAdams. We don't really see her necessarily. I think Vanessa Kirby's in that scene. Is she out with the other guy? I think.
She goes with the other guy, but he's creepy.
Creepy and weird, and she doesn't like him. And then we get a little bit. I think one of my favorite bits in the movie is when he goes to the playwright's play, and all those guys are forgetting their lines in the play, especially in the climax, and he uses his time travel powers to kind of remind them of their lines or help them with cue cards and whatnot to make sure it's a success.
Well, he goes to one of them at first, and he's just like, do you need help? I just need, he's my flatmate. Do you need help with the lines? And he basically goes, fuck off. No.
I know that guy is somebody like an actor I know. I couldn't remember who it is. Yeah,
it's actually about to mention that it's Vernon from Harry Potter. It's Uncle
Oh, is
Vernon.
it? Okay.
This was his last sort of film role too before he passed.
Oh, is this Richard Griffiths? Yeah, he passed away.
Richard E.
Richard
Grant
Griffiths.
is also in that
Oh,
scene.
he's
as
the
well.
other prosecutor guy. Yeah,
he's
right?
the other-
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's so weird seeing Richie Goodacre just in one scene. It's like he's the one that just who mainly fits his line. So and he's like this he's on the side there with his cue cards.
Yeah, I thought at first I was like that guy, the bigger guy. He looks like Charles Lawton, like the guy from like Witness for the Prosecution and stuff like that. I don't know if that's what he was kind of going for, but it was very similar to that. And yeah, he's actually when I was looking up Richard Griffith's filmography, what I know him as is he's the guy in the wheelchair in Naked Gun 2.5. Let's rolling around with Frank Drebin for most of the movie. I know that's like a weird specific thing, but that's him. So there you go. And obviously,
oh shit.
Well,
Richard Griffiths.
yeah. I mean,
oh shit!
Also,
I went to hit my tab on the thing and I hit the wrong button. So I was going back and forth on the Wikipedia tab. Sorry about that.
But he was a cool character. Yeah, this is his last. I think his last. I think this is posthumously released for him, so it's his last film role. But yeah, he was good in his small role. Just like he reminded me, he kind of looked like Timothy Spall at first. I'm like, no, it's Richard.
Timothy Spall could have been in that role. I think he would have, that would attract as far as that goes. But yeah, we see him mostly kind of playing around with his powers in those little ways, like just kind of going back and fixing little things here and there, and then mainly kind of using it to try to get with Rachel McAdams essentially because she finds out that he met a guy at a party. And he goes, he has that awkward scene where it's like, oh, and which party did you meet her at? And where exactly was this? And when did you arrive? And
well, it was annoying for the character because I thought it was really ignorant of him to think, oh, if I do this, then because obviously if he goes back in time to do that, then he doesn't meet. If he goes back in time and helps the play out, he won't meet Rich McAdams' character. He won't meet Mary. So I knew that, you're watching it. It's like, it seems very obvious that you wouldn't meet her, so she wouldn't exist in your life,
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess when you're kind of like in the moment, it's a bit of an oversight, but yeah. So it's just like, yes. And so he goes back to the, that diner is like, oh, and he just goes, I'm looking for two people. One, it looks very pretty. One looks like a prostitute, and the guy knew exactly who you're talking about. Oh no, they just left. And it's like, yeah, they meet at like, they bond over Kate Moss, or like he pretends to not. It's
of all things, Kate Moss,
I mean, which is like, I still think people do in dating that I know of. Like, you don't if you have to don't pretend to like things. Just it's okay to not like the same things, but yeah, like he knows the only thing about it is he knows he likes Kate Moss, and he's just spending all his time at the gallery, and she comes in, and it's awkward, and then like she's already married, and then he's just like, and he just acts weird. He's like, "Can I follow you around?" Like, what? Okay.
Yeah. It's a hell of a meet cute for this movie, essentially. I guess our meet cute is kind of really that blind dinner scene initially, but yeah, and after he loses track of her, yeah, he's got to try to get back with her. But yeah, Malcolm, what do you think of Rachel McAdams in this movie? I think she's quite adorable for most of this movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones like I don't think there's a Rachel McAdams movie that I've seen that I don't like. I think I've liked her in just about everything I've seen her in. And yeah, I think Rachel McAdams is one of those ones like I think if you ever looking for a love interest, I think Rachel McAdams is probably one of the first choices for a lot of people because I think she's just one of those ones that works as a love interest in anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, she's like I said, Time Traveler's Wife. She's in the Sherlock Holmes movies. She's in obviously Mean Girls. She had a very busy 2015. If you look it up, she was in a movie called Everything Will Be Fine, a Wim Wenders movie, the guy who did Perfect Days recently. She did some voiceover stuff for a few animated projects. She was in that bad movie Aloha, but that wasn't her fault. But she's in there. Yeah, she's in Southpaw and she's in Spotlight. So she had a really busy 2015. And then she's continued to work, but she's kind of slowed down a little bit. Only done about one movie every year or every other year. She's done the Doctor Strange stuff. She did Game Night, which I really like her in. She's a lot of fun in Game Night. But most recently she was in Are You There, Goddess Me, Margaret? And I thought she was really good in that movie last year as Margaret's mom. She was really charming in that one.
Yeah. I think like she sort of personifies that, that sort of that cute sort of like next, girl next door sort of like, that lovable kind of lovable character that you could, charismatic person that you could fall for. So, and I also, it makes sense that they would also go for Zooey Deschanel because, especially, at the time she was kind of, big sort of because the new girl was there, but she's also got that same vibe about her. So I get why you'd sort of go for her. There's always similar types of looks or personalities that people go that are in these rom-coms. So
she's very charming. She's very likable. And so they kind of start a courtship. They start dating for a while. They're doing their thing. He's kind of on the cusp of proposing, and then Margot Robbie steps back into the scene, and all of a sudden is interested in him? Question mark. Okay, but Richie, you said there was a line that stuck out to you with this reuniting scene. Yeah, I can't remember exactly what it was, but yeah.
But there's a couple of times where he tries to, he's trying to get with, he's trying to like meet like because he randomly like bumps into her, but a couple of times he just screws her up because she's with her friend, I think. Name's Tina or something, who I've seen and stuff too. I think she's on the show In Between Us in a couple of episodes. But she goes, and he's just making things awkward for themselves. But he's like, this is your partner. You're gay. Oh, you're gay. Not that there's anything wrong. I didn't even have to go back and do that. But then, after he's all over that awkwardness, and he thinks, I've done the interaction with Margot Robbie. She comes back and she goes, hey, do you wanna do something? I told Tina to have dinner alone. I'm like, what a bitch! I just like the idea I like the idea of the guy going, you have dinner by yourself in this city. I'm going to get laid.
Okay, yeah, that's cruel. Hey, we were gonna go do something together. Go do it by yourself.
In real life.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, as a single guy, I dine by myself frequently, but that's by my own, that's by my own choice. I don't tell people to piss off.
She wasn't like, I got Tina a cab or whatever, and I just decided to hang out. No, she's like, I've decided I don't want to have dinner with you. I'm going to go to this other person. So she's like probably just left, going, okay, I'm at the table by herself, and there's probably a chair, like a vacant chair, like opposite her. I just imagine the saddest thing ever.
Well, I mean, I think that's the last time is it the last time we see Margot Robbie in the movie? I can't remember if she shows up.
So basically she they agree to hang out, but then and then they go back to her place, and then she wants to
or she's like, there's an awkward thing where she's like, it looks nicer on the inside or something like that. Like she's clearly leading him on, let's go inside. And that's when he just has this epiphany and then runs back to Rachel McAdams, who's dead ass asleep, and tries to propose to her while she's basically half asleep, essentially. Yeah.
But it's a, you live a privileged life when you get to reject Margot Robbie.
Yeah, that's he goes from being this guy who can't get a date to having to choose between Rachel McAdams and Margot Robbie. Wow, lucky guy, right? What a choice. But yeah, he goes back, he proposes to Rachel McAdams. They end up having a kid named Posey. And so the kid is born, and then they have and then this is where the problems I have with the time travel start coming in, because they're having this birthday party, right? And there's an incident where Kit Kat, the sister, she's in a toxic relationship with this other guy, and she ends up driving drunk and getting into an accident, right? Okay, cool. I thought Bill Nighy said you could not go back in time to before a kid was born or something, or like once the kid is born, you can't go back to anything previous to that. How far does he go back to stop this relationship that Kit Kat has? I could have sworn it was like before the kid, or am I wrong about that?
Yeah, it's like he goes right back to the party where he meets, where they both like. I think the sister meets the abusive guy. They're at the same party. She at the New Year's party. That New Year's party. So yeah, it's definitely before that. It's even before. I think it's even before that. It's before like he even meets Mary, Rachel McAdams' character. So
because then he jumps back, and the kid is a boy now because it like changed everything. Yeah. But I thought he couldn't go back in the first place. Like I thought that was a rule that once the kid was born, you can't physically go back to before they were born, which is why I don't know. I have my issues with this, because especially with the final scene with the dad, like we'll talk about it. Like I don't know.
I mean, if you look up reviews of this, that was sort of one of the hang-ups people had with the movie. It's like there's a lot of it sets up its own rules, but then breaks its own rules. So but I mean that seems funny, but it's like I feel bad, like because obviously the sister realizes, oh, okay, well she didn't love me because he's hitting on some chick, and so it's obviously like, oh, he didn't.
He just immediately hits on like the next chick that's at the bar, like right there. Like the next one.
Well, didn't have me, shouldn't have someone else. So instead of being like, okay, all right, well I won't do that. She just walks up to him and punches him in the face.
Yeah, Malcolm, I know me and Richie like to nitpick stuff like that, but does the time travel stuff bother you, or you just kind of roll with it?
I mean, it didn't bother. I think it was just a case of I didn't think about it too much. It honestly doesn't bother me too much, but just because it's only one of those things where I think it like, unless it's just a case of when the kid's certain age or something, I don't know. Like it's one of those ones like it doesn't bother me because I think it makes for a good movie. Like it's one of those ones. I think just every time travel movie has moments where they break their own rules.
I mean, pretty much. Well, time travel itself is a paradox. Like, if you could time travel, like, you shouldn't really be able to time travel in the first place because, it just, things would, the butterfly effect and whatnot, or just any kind of slight ripple in something. I don't know. Every movie has their own explanation on how it works. Yeah. Modern scientists have pretty much said we can't go into the past anyways. You could potentially go into the future because if time travel doesn't exist in the past, you can't go into the past, so that doesn't make any sense. But it also introduces like the concept of him sharing the power with somebody else, because he like takes her into the closet and like holds her hand, and all of a sudden she can time travel too. I thought that was not a thing. Is that against the rules, or is that part of the rules?
I don't think they ever explained that part of it. So I think it's just a case of he just went, I'll try to see what happens.
Well, and also I feel like I kept waiting also for the moment. And again, these are just nitpicks. I like the movie. Like I think it's a fun movie while you're watching. These are just little minor nitpicks. I do have a nitpick with the fact that Rachel McAdams never finds out that he can time travel. I feel like if they're gonna have an honest relationship, he should have told her all this. And if they're gonna have be completely honest with each other, like because even in stuff like Groundhog Day, on some of those days, he tells Andy McDowell, like what he can do, and he proves it and all that.
Yeah.
And she knows that, and then you can have the discussion afterwards of how many times he's done this or that or the other. But he's made pretty drastic, life-changing things, with these powers and whatnot. And basically, he used his things to create a life with her. I feel like that would have to come out at some point. But
Yeah.
I think it's a case of like usually in these like rom-coms, some inevitably someone, usually the dude is keeping a secret, and then usually, towards the third act, like they have to be like, okay, they
you have to have the 15-minute breakup, as I like to call it.
Well, they find themselves in a situation where like the truth is the only way out of it, but there's not really a situation where it's like there's any like they don't really argue at all in this movie. They don't really have an issue where like the time travel thing is a deterrent. Like it has a, the time travel thing is like a, that causes any like friction where it's like where it's like oh we've got I got to address this sort of thing. So I just like okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm quite surprised that I'd never seen where he told her about the time travel and to just see how she would react, and then go back in time
and go back and not tell her.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess technically he could experiment with that and see how it would go, and then if she has a freak out, he could just go back and take that back and just not do it at all and just not tell her. But yeah, I mean, I kept waiting for a scene like that. Like you said, Richie, it seems like all these romance movies have that thing where there's a miscommunication or something, and they have the split for 10-15 minutes before they have the resolution, and that doesn't really happen because we shift kind of back. I forgot how little actually Bill Nighy is in this movie. There's like an hour where he's not in this movie for like the whole middle portion. Like we barely see him, and then we do all this setup. He checks in every now and then, but for a good chunks of this movie, he's not in it. And then kind of the next time we see him is this get together where he's breaking the news to everybody that he's got cancer, and and that he kind of confides that obviously Tim asks him is there something he can do to fix it, and not really, because he can't go back to when he was smoking, because that was before he was born, I guess. So, at least according to his rules, he can't go back and stop himself smoking. But or it's just too far. It's too risky to do. But I don't know. It kind of comes back, and that kind of becomes the main, crux of the third act. But I do like the scenes between when they find that out. Malcolm, what do you think of like it kind of pivots back to Bill Nighy and their kind of relationship near the end?
Yeah, I think ultimately it was a really nice moment, especially like when I'm kind of going like explaining how like his secret to a happy life and just like living each moment twice and not changing like anything. And I think there's like a nice moment, especially just with a nice message and all that. And yeah.
Well, I mean, theoretically, couldn't Bill Nighy just continue to live that day just over and over again and almost live infinitely? In theory?
Yeah, like a Groundhog Day situation.
Yeah, like couldn't he put himself in his own time loop where at the end of each day he just jumps back to the beginning of the day again, and when he's still alive, like the day before he tells everybody about cancer, and just live forever.
He's in an endless loop where he has to tell people the bad news.
Yeah,
I mean, I get that. I think it's probably a case like he knows there's only going like he probably just doesn't like want to keep reliving that. I think it's just one of those like he knows he's going to have to die eventually. Like even though he could go back in time and all that, but I think it's just not fulfilling for him to keep doing that.
He kind of alludes to the fact that he has lived longer than he should have, because he says the thing, like you said, Malcolm, where he instead decided to live each day like twice or something like that, just to enjoy the moments. So theoretically, he's like in his hundreds by now, or he could be, or something. He could be twice as old as he is, just because of the time travel and whatnot. So I mean, I don't mind that idea, and him, the little things about him being like, oh, I took the opportunity to read every book I ever wanted to read. I was like, okay, well, that's not a bad idea. I guess if you're an avid reader, but yeah, I mean, in theory, I don't see why he couldn't just continue to live, and not die. But I guess he would have to die eventually, or he just gets sick of trying to prolong it, I guess. But yeah, I mean, they use the opportunity and, well, really the conflict, and I don't even feel like it's much of a conflict either. Because again, I feel like he could solve this with Rachel McAdams. He wants to have a third kid, right? And this is like right before he dies, or it's close to it. But if they have the third kid, then he won't ever see his dad again, because he won't be able to go back once the kid is born to go visit his dad again. I feel like if you had a conversation with Rachel McAdams and laid all this out and be like, hey, I have a really good reason why we shouldn't have a third kid right now, so I can go visit my dad, who I really, really love. That might, we already have two. I feel like, I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
And she didn't have a great reason for the third one anyway. She's like, well, it's one person might one of them. I know she's joking.
She calls it an insurance policy.
Insurance policy. One of them might be smarter than the other one. So, like, third one might, but what if they're both smarter than the dumb one? Anyway, but yeah, so I don't know. Like, yeah, I don't know. Not that I'm interested in having kids, but I think they're already talking about being struggling financially, and they want to bring a third one. And he's like, yeah, sure.
I go by my parents always taught me. I don't have kids, but my sister is about to have her second, but they've already said they're stopping after that. She had 3 siblings, and they had 4 kids, and then her grandparents, her parents, my grandparents told them, hey, don't ever have more kids than you have adults in the house, which is 2. So I feel like that's a good rule of thumb, just in general. But I see why people want to have more, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of the scene where they're playing kind of ping pong for the last time, where he's just like, yeah, the baby's on the way, so this might be the last time we see each other, or it's like the night before she's about to go into labor, and they have that final scene. But it's still a sweet scene. Like, I'm not taking it away from the performances and all that.
Also, I mean, she's kind of a bitch about it in a way, because she's like, like I guess, in a way to stall for time, I guess, like, Dominus is like, oh, look, can we think about this? She's like, yeah. And she's just like,
all right, we thought about it for 5 seconds. Now, what about now?
He just goes, yeah. Okay.
You're already convinced, and you're going to win this argument. Because you're you. So you've already made your mind up. But good talk, I guess, bro. Again, it sounds like I'm dumping on this movie. I'm not. Like, I enjoyed.
I like the movie.
These are all just little nitpicks that come up when you start thinking about it afterwards. In fact, again, when I'm in the moment, I'm watching the movie. Like, I'm rolling with it. I do think the final scene, some of the final moments with Nighy and Gleason are really, really, sweet, and you can tell, even because they have that realization where, Bill Nighy's like, the baby's on the way, right? Or this is it, or something like that. And they kind of have their last little moment. And then they share the time travel thing to travel back to when he was a kid. When Gleason was a kid, and they're like walking along the beach or something like that. Again, I don't know if that breaks any rules or not. I can't remember at this point. You just kind of have to roll with it to see if that affects anything. But I mean, it's a nice little callback, and it's one less little walk on the beach and whatnot. But I'm rambling. I'm sorry, Malcolm. What do you think of this whole kind of final, sort of wrap up in some of the moments they have here?
Yeah, I think it was just just good moment just to see sort of them like having the sweet like fatherly son moments and all that. And I think it just really showed like how strong relationship he had with his father and that. So I think it was a really nice wrap up.
Yeah, and then Tim decides to basically, once the kid is born, to just not use it at all, and he's gonna give up the powers for sure. But I mean, I would still use it every now and then, maybe if there's like a house fire or something, or
temptations there.
There'd be temptations, to maybe present, stop, catastrophic things from happening, or whatnot. Or what if your kid got injured and you want to prevent your kid from getting injured? I don't know, just little minor things. I would maybe still be tempted to use it. Yeah. I mean, I get the idea of like, I'm going to live the moments in the day. I'm going to not use it at all. But I feel like if something really bad happened, you would still whip that power out every now and then if you had it in your back pocket.
Yeah.
And also like being like, I'm going to live like every day, like, kind of, the same or whatever. And just, the roll with the punches if, shit happens. But it's like, if it's every day the same, well, everybody knows monotony. It's just like you kind of just feel like, oh, life is boring. You want to spice up a little bit. Come on. Yeah, if I had that option, I'm like occasionally, but okay, look, wouldn't it be funny if I did this? I don't know.
Yeah. Like nothing life changing. Just let's play around with this scenario a little bit. Sure.
Yeah.
It does make me wonder if his kids have the power in that as well.
That's true, because don't they have at least one boy, right? Or they have two boys? Two boys or one boy? Yeah. They have
I
Posey,
know they got at least
and
one
then
boy. Yeah.
Yeah, they've got the Posey kid that turns into a boy but turns back into Posey. And then the second one, I forget what the second one was. I think the second one was a girl too. And then no, the second one was a girl, and then they finally had a boy. I believe they finally had a boy for the third one. I think that's what it was. So yeah, you wonder if the boy will have that power when he grows up. I'm assuming, but unless Tim doesn't tell him about it, and doesn't tell him he has that power, that would be awkward.
Are you saying that leaves the door open for a sequel about
older Donald Gleason and Rachel McAdams and their three kids, and like what would you call it? It's about another time. Something like that. It's still
about more time.
About more time, yeah.
About time to make more money.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know, this movie was like a box office smash. It made money, but I feel like this feels like, Richie. It feels like if they did a sequel, it'd be like one of those sequels that had none of the original people in it. It'd be like a straight to Netflix sequel. Yeah. They cast like completely different people and just use the IP and the property, and the original people wouldn't be in it. Be like, it's we recast it to this person, and we casted some 20-something to play the kid, whatever.
Like there was a Mean Girls 2 direct to DVD before actually the remake of Mean Girls came out. So that kind of thing.
Yeah, it feels like it might be something like that. I don't think this is like one of those franchise movies. I think they'll leave this one alone until they do a remake of it like 3 years from now for no reason. Remake 15 years later
and make it a musical. Why not?
But yeah, it was still fun. Again, I'm not dumping on the movie. These are just little minor. I'm a sci-fi dork, so I think about the time travel aspects and how it actually works and whatnot. And I get you're just kind of supposed to just kind of roll with it, and he uses it when he needs to, and it's all fine. But anytime you have a time travel or time loop movie, you're going to have these questions and whatnot. So that's all it is. No, I think all the cast is really charming. Everybody has really good chemistry. Yeah, I like the father-son thing is kind of the heart of the movie. I've heard a lot of stories online. I was reading a lot of people on Reddit and whatnot saying they connect this movie because especially like after their dad died or something like that. They watch this movie and really connect with it, and I get that. I totally want to understand why people connect to this thing and really lock in on it. But it's been a good little discussion. We'll go around. Guys, give me kind of your final thoughts on the movie and sort of a wrap up. Malcolm, it's in your 128, man. So again, how did it hold up on this little rewatch for you?
It held up very well. Like it's just one of those ones like I am always going to go back to. It is actually one of those movies I thought I owned, but apparently I don't. I've definitely got to get around to actually buying it. But yeah, it's a 5-star movie for me. It's probably always will, and honestly, it kind of surprised me that Richie Goodacre hasn't directed more stuff. Like he's written a lot, but he hasn't directed a lot.
Yeah, no, like I said the only ones he's actually directed are the Love Actually, the Pirate Radio, and this movie. So he really, and he directed like a short film or something, and one or two other like little things. But yeah, he's not really been like a mainstream director. I think people still talk about him mainly because of Love Actually. Again, people, his name comes up every year because of people watch Love Actually on Christmas, and I get that it's become one of those kind of beloved movies for there. But yeah, he hasn't really done anything else. Written a ton of stuff. He wrote a lot of those Bridget Jones movies.
I think he wrote that Genie movie that came out last year with Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah, he wrote that one. He wrote Yesterday. He wrote some of the Mamma Mia stuff. Again, some of the Mr. Bean stuff. But yeah, he hasn't directed a whole lot. So it'd be interesting to see if he ever. I think he said he doesn't want to direct anymore. He just wants to write. He just likes writing. He dabbled in the directing thing, but he just wants to write. But yeah, still really good stuff here. Richie, what are your wrap up sort of thoughts on the movie and whatnot?
Yeah, no, I had a lot of fun with this. yeah, it's like, I probably liked it more on the second watch, to be honest. A lot of fun, I guess. Yeah, minor nitpicks here and there. It would have been nice if it was like bigger stakes, given the whole premise. But like, it's fun. It's good to see all the cast and really good chemistry. Yeah, I mean, there was a joke that I missed out on, but when she's first meeting her parents, and she's also like, they're not ready to reveal that she's not ready for them to reveal that they're officially dating yet. It's like, okay, well, but we're having sex, yeah, but it's just not oral. No. He brings it up, and like, excuse me, I'm just gonna.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go step in this closet real quick. I'll be right back. Well, again, and that's the other thing of like how it works. Like, so from their perspective, where does he go? Does he come back, or like, or does he start a new timeline? Like, what happens to him in that timeline? Like, does he just disappear forever? I have my issues of like where he goes and who remembers what, and I don't know. It's a whole thing, but yeah, it'll make your brain hurt. It's the whole John Connor Kyle Reese is John Connor's dad paradox. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, but hey, it is what it is. No, I enjoyed the movie. I still had a good time rewatching it today. I really liked all the chemistry that everybody had. Yeah, I just kept waiting for the one miscommunicate or the thing where he tells or Rachel McAdams finds out about the time travel. That's the only thing I was waiting on that didn't happen. It was especially with a 2-hour movie, and it didn't happen. So that was the only thing I was waiting on. But no, I mean, they pivot back to Bill Nighy, and that's fine. I remember him being really good in this movie, and excuse me, be good overall. So but yeah, no, that'll probably wrap it up. We've gone almost an hour here, and talking about time. So we'll kind of wrap it up for another edition of Wheel of Movies. We'll go around and kind of see what everybody's got going on, and we'll spin the wheel again. Maybe this weekend we'll spin the wheel again and see what we're doing next time. But Malcolm, what you got going
on? You can find me on Sundays on Take 3 Productions hosting Romcom. Austin will be on this week. We're doing top 12 opening scenes in 2010's movies. And you can also find me popping up on tournament fights every now and then. I'm pretty sure next week I'm doing my top 64 favorite TV shows. But
I think it's Friday because I'm going to be on that. That's what I have to talk.
I mean, I've got it down as Tuesday, but
I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't even know next week's schedule. I got to get that from Jordan tomorrow night. I have no idea what for anything with June other than tomorrow night. So I don't know what we're doing. But yeah, Richie, what you got going on?
I think I'll be on Tournament Fights tomorrow, actually taking your spot for the Malcolm for the best actors. You and Austin and Jacob.
Me and Jacob, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that'd be that. And I'll prior to that, I'll be probably on JPO's channel doing some stuff, trivia. Like I said, I'll also be on Malcolm's top 64 TV shows next week. And other than that, you can check me out. I'm all over, socials and stuff. Begrudgingly got TikTok. I don't know how often I'll use it because I don't have that much to talk about, to be honest. So you can find me everywhere. I'm all around the trivia spaces. And or you can find us in half an hour on Lonely Marks.
That's right. Yeah, no, that's why we had to do this a little bit earlier than what we normally do, just because we want a little bit of a buffer between Lonely Marks tonight. Try to squeeze this in before we talk some wrestling, because we got a big show tonight talking about 2 different pay-per-views. We got to talk about King and Queen of the Ring and Double or Nothing. So
tune in for that. And I was just rewatching a few things. That's why I was like, I just want to. Yeah,
I might jump on and put on that Will Ospreay Roderick Strong match again really quick before we go live and watch that again, because that was really, really good.
watching Edge's craziness when he fucking jumped off the. I was like, holy shit,
And
dude.
now he's hurt. We'll talk about it. Now he's hurt because he chickened out. But anyways, obviously you can find me co-hosting or hosting a lot of stuff here on the Movie Hero Network. We got tournament fights tomorrow night. Pop up on Ryan Permison's And I Quote channel a lot, doing his anniversary watch along commentaries. We got one Saturday night at 7:00 for John Wick, the 10th anniversary. Can you believe it? John Wick is 10 years old, right? I mean, it's like crazy, but not as crazy because we've had 4 movies, so that's not as nutty. But still, the original John Wick is 10 years old, so we'll be doing a little commentary talking about that. We'll be doing Jordan's little Seen and Heard scores and soundtracks trivia on Saturday night. I believe it's mostly going to be for Patreon, so I believe we'll stream it live, when it's live, and then it'll go right to the Patreon right afterwards. So if you want to see that, you got to tune in live for it, because I'm sure it'll get copyrighted, almost immediately. Yeah. So it's going to have to go to the Patreon. And then, and like Malcolm said, we'll be talking some opening scenes on Romcom next week, so that should be fun. I got to start making my list for that, but that should be a good time. So that'll do it. Thank you, Malcolm, for joining us tonight. We appreciate it. We always try to kind of reach out to the people who have it on their list at least, or people who are really passionate about those movies. So I hope our little nitpicks didn't down you on the movie. We weren't trying to do that. That's just little goofy things that we talk about. When we talk about the movie for an hour, you're going to get into a few little minor things, especially when it's time travel, but that's all it is. But thanks again for joining us. We appreciate it, sir. Thank you, Richie, of course, as always, for joining me here on the new Wheel of Movies. So thank you very much. Thank you for everybody who's watching either live or on the replay. We certainly appreciate it. And we'll be spinning the wheel soon, and we'll see what pops up for our next episode of Wheel of Movies, as long as me and Richie want to do it. So, again, it's just got to be something with some meat on the bones. I don't care if it's not in my thing. This is not in my 128. It was not in Richie's 128. It just has to be a movie that I can talk about. That's all our criteria is. It needs to be something there. That's all. Yeah. So, we'll see what pops up next time. But for now, we'll leave it at that. So, for Malcolm, for Richie, I'm your host, Austin Pez Howell. We'll see you guys on the next episode of Wheel of Movies. Bye.